Humanity had spent centuries reaching for the stars. They were explorers, diplomats, scientists, and soldiers, but above all, they were dreamers. For generations, Earth's leaders had worked tirelessly to establish a foothold in the galaxy, forming alliances with alien races, trading knowledge, and expanding their colonies on distant planets. They were just starting to find their place in the cosmos. But the day the Galactic Council issued their decree, everything changed. Dr. Emily M. Carter stood at the front of the chamber, a sleek black suit pressing against her frame as she adjusted the lapel. The alien delegates filled the room in a semicircle, their species as diverse as the stars themselves. Tall and imposing Sylphar, Serpentine, and calculating Grethka, delicate yet powerful Hithorians, but all of them shared one thing in common. They saw humanity as nothing more than a nuisance. The Council had called the session to discuss the future of galactic expansion, and the human representative had hoped to secure a seat at the table. Earth's colonies had grown, and their technologies were advancing rapidly. Humanity was not just surviving in the galaxy, they were thriving. Yet here they were, facing a decision that would forever alter their place in the universe. A sudden murmur rippled through the chamber as the head of the council, an ancient Grethka elder named Sitor, spoke. His voice was cold and measured, his eyes narrowed at M, the only human in the room. After extensive deliberation, Sitor said, "The council has voted. Humanity's expansion will be restricted. Earth and her colonies may continue exploration, but your limits will be drawn. You are not yet ready to join the ranks of the advanced races of this galaxy." The words landed like a punch. M's chest tightened. The years of effort, of progress, of sacrifices, all dismissed in a single sentence. The tone of the room was dismissive, condescending. Sitor wasn't finished. "Your people are unpredictable, unrefined. While you may show potential, your impatience and impulsive nature make you unsuitable for full participation in galactic governance." A silence stretched out in the room as the implications of the statement settled in. M's heart was pounding, every fiber of her being screamed to retort, to argue. But she knew better than to challenge the council outright. That's what they expected. They wanted her to submit, to apologize. They wanted her to back down. Instead, she straightened her back, her voice suddenly fierce and unwavering as she addressed the entire chamber. "Then we'll stop asking for your permission," she said, her words sharp and clear. "We've spent enough time waiting for your approval. Humanity doesn't need your consent. We've earned our place in this galaxy, and we will take it." She paused, allowing the gravity of her words to sink in. A murmur of shock spread through the delegates. In the silence that followed, M made a decision. Without waiting for a response, she turned on her heel and walked out of the chamber, her message already sent. The broadcast went out to every corner of the galaxy. "Respect us or leave us alone, but no longer will we beg for a seat at your table." And so, the galaxy would begin to learn what happens when humanity runs out of patience. This should help set the tone for the story, showcasing the moment when M decides to take a stand, with the galaxy's reaction setting the stage for the conflict to come. Across the human colonies, the impact of Dr. Emily Carter's broadcast rippled out like a shockwave, sparking a fire that no one, least of all the Galactic Council, had anticipated. In Earth's crowded cities, in the sprawling domes of Mars, on the icy plains of Europa, and in the independent frontier colonies scattered across the outer rim, the message was heard, loud, clear, and defiant. At the heart of Earth's political landscape, President Maya Dawson sat in a darkened conference room, her hands clasped tightly in front of her as she watched the broadcast for the third time. The Council's decision to restrict humanity's expansion had been the last straw. It wasn't just a political snub. It was a direct insult to everything humans had fought for, everything they had sacrificed. "Respect us or leave us alone," she whispered to herself, her voice thick with resolve. Her administration had spent years working to build peaceful relations with the galactic powers, But no one had taken humanity seriously. Now, thanks to Dr. Carter's boldness, the galaxy had been put on notice. A silence fell over the room as Dawson's advisors watched her carefully. There was no question anymore about what had to be done. She stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "Get me the colonial governor of Mars, and tell the fleet to prepare for mobilization. We're done waiting." On Mars, Jack Holloway, ex-soldier turned miner, watched the broadcast in his cramped quarters in the New Horizon colony. The small, dust-swept colony on Mars' northern rim had always been a place of hard work and harder lives, far removed from the political machinations of Earth. But when the message came through, Jack felt something stir within him. He'd fought in the last war between human colonies, a brutal conflict that had left scars on his body and soul. But that wasn't what burned in his chest now. It was something deeper, a raw, unbridled sense of pride, of anger at being cast aside by the galaxy's so-called elites. He punched the wall in frustration, the sting of the impact biting through his knuckles. He wasn't alone in this. Not anymore. There were millions like him, hard-working, fiercely independent, and fed up. The colonies weren't going to sit quietly by anymore. Jack grabbed his comlink and shot off a message to his old platoon. "It's time. Rally the fleet. We're done asking for permission." Back on Earth, Dr. Carter's broadcast had not only galvanized the government, but had also sparked something else, an outpouring of support from the civilian population. Protests, rallies, and speeches erupted in cities all over the world. People took to the streets, waving the flag of humanity's newfound resolve. No more concessions, no more waiting. The time had come to show the galaxy that humanity would no longer be the underdog. Humanity was done asking for permission. They were going to take their place in the galaxy, by force if necessary. The first ship to depart Earth's orbit was a civilian freighter, retrofitted with military-grade weapons and the banner of human independence proudly flown at its stern. It was a simple message, but one that carried weight. Humanity was stepping into the stars, and they were ready for whatever came next. Dr. Carter's declaration, and the sudden shift in human sentiment. The growing unrest and rallying of humanity's various factions create the foundation for the conflict to come. Let me know if you'd like to adjust or expand anything. The human response to the Galactic Council's edict was swift and unified, but the galaxy's reaction was mixed. Some alien empires laughed it off, dismissing humanity's defiance as an impulsive outburst from a young species still grappling with its place in the stars. Others, however, were beginning to take notice, their intelligence networks picking up on strange new activity across human space. Human colonies, once isolated and under-resourced, now buzzed with activity. In the asteroid belt of the Jovian system, miners and engineers began constructing shipyards at a pace unseen before. On the frigid tundra of Titan, engineers who had once specialized in research and development now turned their hands to military technology, reverse engineering alien weapons systems for the first time. Earth itself was a hotbed of activity, as new ships were designed and retrofitted, ready to defend what humanity had fought for and expand their reach into the galaxy. For Jack Holloway, the last few weeks had been a blur of high-level strategy meetings and urgent military preparation. As a veteran of the last human civil war, he knew the importance of swift and decisive action. Now, he was a key figure in the newly formed Human Defense Coalition, the military arm of the fledgling human independence movement. In a secure meeting room beneath the surface of Mars, Holloway sat with military leaders, strategists, and engineers, mapping out the next phase of their plans. "Time's running out," Jack said, staring at the holographic display of the galaxy. "We don't have the luxury of waiting for the Council to back down. If we're going to make a statement, it's got to be soon, and it's got to be big." One of the senior officers, Commander Isabel Pritchard, nodded. "I've been tracking alien fleet movements along the rim. They're starting to mobilize in response to the unrest. If we don't act first, they'll come to us." Jack's gaze hardened. The alien empires had long dismissed humanity's potential, but they were learning fast. The fleet they were building wasn't just a defensive force, it was an offensive one. A force capable of striking first and striking hard. But as Commander Pritchard had warned, the clock was ticking. Meanwhile, on Earth, President Maya Dawson was making decisions of her own. She had authorized the formation of the Exodus Initiative, a secret operation to prepare human forces for an interstellar conflict. The initiative would not just defend human colonies, it would expand humanity's reach by any means necessary. The message to the Galactic Council was clear. If diplomacy wouldn't work, humanity would make their own path. But even as preparations accelerated, humanity was still divided in some ways. While most embraced their newfound strength, a few leaders, particularly on Earth, urged caution. They feared that humanity was rushing headlong into a war they might not be ready for. Yet those voices grew fainter as the mobilization continued. A storm was gathering, and once it broke, the galaxy would never be the same again. Builds the tension as both human factions and alien powers begin preparing for the inevitable clash. It introduces the mounting military buildup on both sides, hinting at the high stakes and impending conflict. The inner divisions within humanity also set the stage for future drama. The galaxy's first true confrontation with humanity came sooner than anyone expected. The alien powers had underestimated the sheer speed and tenacity with which humans mobilized. It wasn't just the ships, the weapons, or the colonies. They had underestimated the human will. The first incident that made the galaxy sit up and take notice occurred at the outer edge of the Vargan system. A Hathorian warship, Futuristic, a massive cruiser known for its relentless efficiency, had been patrolling the region to keep watch over human activity. Its captain, Jaira Akala, a veteran of the Hathorian fleet, had been tasked with keeping the unruly human colonies in check. But that morning, as the cruiser passed the border of human space, it found itself facing a reality it hadn't prepared for. Captain Akala's orders were clear: maintain the status quo, ensure human vessels stayed in their designated lanes, and report back. The routine was supposed to be simple. But as her ship came upon the edge of the system, an unfamiliar signature appeared on the long-range sensors. The readings were unmistakable. A fleet of human warships, stealth-modified, and maneuvering with military precision. "They're moving," her second-in-command, Lieutenant Czar, said, his voice tight with confusion. "They're moving right into our patrol zone." Akala's expression darkened. Humans. They've crossed the line. She had no idea how or why they were so bold, but the message was clear. They weren't waiting for permission anymore. The Hathorian captain sent a standard hail. "Human vessel, you are trespassing in Hathorian-controlled space. Stand down immediately and return to your assigned quadrant." For a moment, there was nothing but silence. Akala waited, fingers tapping restlessly on her console. Then the reply came through. A single human vessel, a freighter retrofitted with military-grade cannons, broadcasting a message across the comms. The voice was calm, but the words were unmistakable. "Respect us, or leave us alone." Akala's jaw tightened. In the blink of an eye, the human ship fired. The Futuristic had no time to react. The human vessel unleashed a burst of energy from a weapon previously unknown to Hathorians. The blast struck the Hathorian ship shields, shattering them within seconds and disabling their weapon systems before they could return fire. It was a surgical strike, direct, effective, and terrifyingly efficient. The Hathorian cruiser was crippled in less than a minute. "Report," Akala barked, her mind racing. "We're disabled. Hull integrity at 40%, came the shaky reply from the bridge crew. "We can't move." The human ship had already broken away, disappearing into the darkness of space. They hadn't intended to destroy the Futuristic, at least not yet. The message had been delivered with ruthless clarity. Back on Earth, President Dawson watched the footage with grim satisfaction. Humanity had made its first move. The galaxy had underestimated them. And now, the galaxy would never forget. Escalates the conflict as humanity strikes first, using calculated force to send a message to the alien powers. The sequence with the Hathorian cruiser demonstrates human ingenuity and audacity, reinforcing the idea that humanity is no longer a passive player in galactic politics. The news spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The attack on the Vorsa 6 was only the beginning, but it had already shaken the foundations of the interstellar status quo. For weeks, the Hathorian fleet had dominated the Outer Rim, patrolling with near absolute authority. But now, humanity had proved that they could strike, and strike with deadly precision. The Vorsa 6 wasn't just a ship, it was a symbol of the galaxy's dismissal of humanity's place. And now, that symbol had been brought low. On Earth, the impact was immediate. What had started as a single broadcast by Dr. Emily Carter had transformed into a full-fledged movement, a revolution of the mind and spirit. Across every major city, huge screens displayed images of the Vorsa 6 disabled in space, a symbol of humanity's newfound resolve. Crowds gathered in the streets, waving flags and chanting in unison. The streets of New York, London, Sao Paulo, and Tokyo were filled with people who had no interest in asking for permission anymore. They were demanding their future. In the aftermath of the attack, President Maya Dawson addressed the public, her words carefully chosen but full of the fire that had now taken root within her people. "This is not just a victory on the battlefield," she said, her voice resolute. "This is a victory for every human being who has ever looked up at the stars and wondered why we've been told to wait. Today, the galaxy knows. Humanity is not asking for a place among them. We are claiming it. Together, we will show the universe what happens when humanity is united." In the aftermath of the Vorsa 6 incident, humanity began to look inward. For the first time, the colonies that had been scattered across the stars began to feel a sense of shared purpose. The inner divisions between Earth, Mars, the Jovian moons, and the far-flung frontier colonies began to disappear. No longer were they separated by distance, by resources, or by old political rivalries. They were united by something stronger, the knowledge that they had been underestimated, dismissed, and ignored. And now, together, they were going to take their place. The Human Defense Coalition, formed hastily in the wake of Dr. Carter's bold message, quickly transitioned into a fully operational military force. Jack Holloway, the veteran soldier who had once fought for the survival of human colonies, now stood at the helm of a growing fleet. His message echoed across the system as he addressed the newly formed command staff. "We are not just fighting for Earth, for Mars, or any single colony," he said, his voice steady and clear. "We're fighting for every human who's ever been told they weren't enough. This is our moment." On the front lines, the humanity behind the fleet felt something they hadn't in generations: unity. The inner divisions that had long plagued their society began to melt away as they forged a collective identity. Their identity was no longer defined by who they were on Earth or on Mars, but by who they were as humans. And that made all the difference. Focuses on the emotional and cultural impact of the first major victory, emphasizing the unity and collective pride that begins to emerge among humanity. The political and military steps forward are contrasted with the deepening cultural shift as the colonies move from scattered factions to a united force. As humanity's influence spread across the galaxy, it quickly became clear that they were not just military threats. The audacity of their victory over the Vorsa 6 had proven that they could strike with precision, but now the time had come to prove something else. Humanity could outthink the galaxy's oldest and most powerful empires. The opportunity came when a secret communication reached Jack Holloway's fleet. A powerful alien artifact, known as the Obsidian Core, had been located in the heavily guarded archives of the Zulka Dominion, one of the wealthiest and most advanced empires in the galaxy. The core was said to contain vast technological knowledge, lost systems, energy weapons, and perhaps the key to faster-than-light travel. It was rumored that whoever controlled the Obsidian Core would have the power to reshape the galaxy. And now, it was the next target on humanity's radar. The Zelka Dominion was an empire built on centuries of conquest and trade. Its military was formidable, and its capital world, Zeltur, was shielded by the most advanced defenses in the galaxy. Any attempt to steal from the Dominion would be seen as an act of war, and yet, the plan was set in motion. Holloway knew it was a dangerous gambit, but the potential payoff was too great. If humanity could seize the Obsidian Core, it would not only give them a technological edge, but also deliver a blow to the heart of the galactic powers who had dismissed them. The plan was simple, but its execution would require flawless precision. Infiltrate the Dominion's most secure world, bypass the impenetrable defense systems, and steal the artifact before anyone even knew what had happened. Dr. Emily Carter, now a key figure in the human movement, was brought in for her expertise in negotiation and strategy. "We need to make sure the Zelka don't realize they've been hit until it's too late," she said, outlining the mission's parameters. "We don't need a war, we just need the core." The team assembled for the mission was a motley crew of elite operatives, including engineers, hackers, and former military commanders, all experts in their respective fields. Among them was a young but talented pilot, Leila Torres, whose skill in maneuvering stealth ships would prove vital in getting past the Zelka's outer defenses. The plan began with a bold strike, hacking into the Dominion's communication systems to create a diversion. As the Dominion security scrambled to respond to the false alarms, a small, heavily modified human ship slipped past their outer patrols. Once inside the capital system, the team would infiltrate the Zeltor archives, bypassing the intricate security systems with a mix of human ingenuity and salvaged alien tech. The operation was executed with cold precision, and within hours, the team had made it to the heart of the Dominion's treasure vaults. The Obsidian Core was nestled within a chamber of ancient, glowing stones. The team secured the artifact without raising an alarm and vanished into the stars, leaving the Zelka Dominion scrambling, unaware that they had just lost the most valuable piece of their empire. The galaxy would soon learn that humanity was not only capable of warfare, they were masters of stealth, innovation, and precision. Marks a significant turning point in humanity's story, as they pull off an audacious heist against one of the most powerful empires in the galaxy. It shows their growing ability to manipulate the galactic balance of power through intelligence and strategic actions, rather than brute force alone. The theft of the Obsidian Core from the Zelka Dominion sent shockwaves through the galaxy. It wasn't just the loss of a priceless artifact. It was the realization that humanity wasn't merely a threat on the battlefield. They were capable of playing the game at a level no one had anticipated. The core contained technological secrets that could change the course of galactic history. Its loss was an unprecedented humiliation for the Zelka, and they vowed to reclaim it at any cost. But the theft sparked something else. A wave of fear swept through the galactic powers, the realization that humanity was no longer content to stay in the shadows. No longer the underdog, humanity was playing the game on their own terms, and they were winning. Behind the scenes, the Shadow War had begun. It wasn't a formal declaration of hostilities between the galaxy's empires and humanity, but a covert struggle that unfolded across hidden corners of space. Sabotage, espionage, and clandestine strikes became the norm as humanity used the Obsidian Core to accelerate their technological development. The once impressive alien empires scrambled to catch up, desperately trying to neutralize human advances. The Zelka Dominion was the first to react. Their military leaders, humiliated by the theft, launched a series of covert missions into human-controlled space, trying to sabotage key infrastructure and disrupt supply chains. They didn't want an open war, not yet, but they wanted to send a message. They would show humanity that stealing from the Dominion had consequences. But humanity wasn't blind to this aggression. Across the colonies, intelligence networks began to intercept encrypted transmissions from Zelka operatives. Jack Holloway, still leading the Human Defense Coalition, quickly realized that the Zelka weren't the only ones who had begun to take an interest in humanity's rise. The Hathorians, the Tsilfar, and even smaller independent factions began to quietly align themselves against the growing human threat. Not out of a shared ideology, but out of sheer fear. They couldn't allow humanity to rise unchecked. For the first time in human history, Earth and its colonies found themselves at the center of a silent war. It wasn't a war fought with fleets of ships or grand battles. At least, not yet. It was a war of information, of secret operations, of trying to outwit and outmaneuver enemies who had once viewed humanity as nothing more than a curiosity. In the midst of this, Dr. Emily Carter and her team of scientists and engineers worked tirelessly, using the Obsidian Core's technology to develop new weapons, new stealth systems, and perhaps most importantly, a way to weaponize human ingenuity itself. They weren't just catching up to the alien powers, they were about to surpass them. The Shadow War was only the beginning. The galaxy might have thought humanity was done asking for permission, but now the galaxy would learn that humanity wasn't just a force to be reckoned with. They were a force that could bend the very rules of the game to their will. Deepens the tension and expands on humanity's growing strategic capabilities, showing how their technological leaps, thanks to the Obsidian Core, have pushed them into a new kind of conflict, one fought in the shadows, through espionage and covert operations. The scale of the Shadow War and the alliances forming against humanity also sets the stage for an eventual larger-scale conflict. The Obsidian Core had given humanity an unprecedented advantage, but it wasn't just the technology that was reshaping the galaxy. It was the fire within the human spirit. The Shadow War had pushed them to their limits, but now, humanity was ready to take the final step. The time for covert strikes, sabotage, and secrecy was coming to an end. The galaxy would no longer be able to ignore the rising tide of humanity's power. The Zelka Dominion, Hathorians, and Tsilfar had hoped that by striking at humanity in the shadows, they could stifle the growing threat. But their tactics had only emboldened humanity. It was no longer just about survival or defense. It was about claiming what they had earned. The message had already been sent. Now it was time for humanity to show the galaxy just how far they would go to protect their future. Jack Holloway sat in the command center of the Tempest, one of the largest warships ever built by human hands. His fleet was assembled, more ships than the galaxy had ever seen from a single species, and their capabilities were far beyond what anyone had imagined. The stolen technologies from the Obsidian Core had been integrated into every ship, every weapon, and every defense system. Humanity wasn't just a contender anymore. They were a force of nature. "Status report," Jack said, his voice calm but filled with the intensity of someone who knew this moment was everything. "Fleet is ready, Admiral," Commander Isabel Pritchard replied. "We've completed the last of the stealth modifications. We're in position." "Good," Jack said. "Let's show them who we are." The fleet jumped into hyperspace, bypassing Zelka, Hathorian, and Tsilfar territories with ease. Their target was clear: the heart of the Galactic Council itself, the Council Citadel, located on the neutral world of Aerith. It was here that the galaxy's most powerful species gathered to decide the fate of the stars. And it was here humanity decided that their voice would finally be heard. As they arrived in the Aerith system, the human fleet remained hidden, moving through the darkness of space like ghosts. They bypassed the usual patrol routes, using newly developed cloaking technology to render themselves invisible. The Citadel, once thought to be impregnable, was completely unaware of the approaching human ships. The moment humanity's fleet emerged from the shadows, the galaxy's defenses were overwhelmed. Zelka ships scrambled to respond, but they were too slow. The human ships had already neutralized their key systems with a single strike. In less than an hour, the Citadel was in human hands. President Maya Dawson addressed the galaxy through every available communication channel, her words broadcasting across systems. "This is the reckoning. Humanity will no longer be told where we can go or what we can become. We are taking our place in the galaxy, and no one will stop us." The galaxy had underestimated humanity's resolve. now it would never forget, delivers the climactic moment of the story, with humanity's fleet decisively taking control of the Galactic Council's citadel. The message is clear. Humanity has ascended to a new level of power and influence in the galaxy, and their place is now assured. The reckoning is complete. Humanity has proven itself to be a force to be reckoned with, and the galaxy will never be the same again.